Hello, I'm Mark Baer. You're watching the YourTown television program. My guest, Patrick Tregenza, photographer. Welcome.
My pleasure.
So, we have new titles for our show, and you made the beautiful new titles. And I think I'll just tell this story quickly. So, sure. Patrick's a frequent guest on the show, and came out one day and he says, you know, the show's pretty good, but the titles aren't kind of up to snuff. And he says, I hope I'm not being offended. And I go, no, I made the title, so I'm not offended. I am under no illusions. And you asked me, you said, do you mind if I take a crack at it and see what I can do? And I said, great. And you, a man of your word, came through and made these beautiful titles with a drone, and it's flying over the peninsula. And I looked at this and I said, wow, I want to live there. This looks like it, and we do live there.
Yeah, lucky for us that we do, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I saw a need, and I am always looking for ways to hone my skills. And so the video editing software is really, really difficult. And if you don't keep up with it, you'll have to relearn it every time you go back to it. So I saw your opening title sequence as a way for me to just kind of practice with that, have some fun with some of the drone footage I've had, and add music to stuff, practice using putting titles in and playing with different fonts and where they go on the screen and how they fade in and fade out. And so I just saw it as an opportunity for me to help you guys out, and also I could even maybe use that little sequence on my website as an example of my work. And so it's one of those things where it's just like, I see an opportunity and a need, and I stepped up, and it took me a while. It took me a couple of months to finally get it done. But when I sat down and set the time aside to actually do the editing, it only took me a couple hours. So it was actually a lot of fun to do. So
well,
you're welcome.
We're going to talk about professionalism here in a minute. But what I really liked about it is it just looks easy. You made it look easy. And to me, a good piece of art looks like it's always been there. It just rolls off the whatever, and it had that sense of confidence to it. And I said, that's a professional piece of art. That's what a great piece of art does.
Well, thank you.
I was really so impressed with that. Let's first of all talk a bit about doing pro bono, because this show very much, I'd love to ask others to do what you did. We need so many things to keep a show like this running. We need a website that's more dynamic. That's its own kind of job. And so I'm looking for somebody who has that expertise, who wants to volunteer. Someone who wants to help us with our sponsorships. And that's it's a good opportunity for the community to promote itself, but it's also, I'd like to see this community stepping up, because we have 12 hosts on this show, and some of them need backing, some of them needs various other things. So,
sure.
It takes a lot of people to make things happen, as you know. And then let's talk a little bit about the pro bono side, because you do a lot of pro bono work.
Yeah, over the years, I've been in a position where I, being a photographer, is like, well, I could probably take pictures of your board of directors for a nonprofit. For instance, PAC Rep Theater Group, my daughter is very active in the theater, and I put it out there, and they said, sure, we'd love to. That'd be fantastic. So, whenever there's a new director, I get an email, and I kind of do the same lighting, and they all end up, I guess, on their website. And I think there's a little display at the Golden Bough Theater in Carmel. It has, the portraits up. And then the Yacht Club, I'm past Commodore and on the board of directors there. And so as the Commodores come through, I think I've done the last maybe 10 years of Commodores, which is something I can just do as kind of fun for me to take care of that. And, fundraisers. I think my daughter's school did a thing where I did family portraits of families from the school, and all the money that they, went towards the after-school funds and stuff like that. So, it's one thing to, you can write a check to Pack Rep, to support them, or I could do, the same kind of thing with my craft, and that's, worth a lot, because it can be expensive to hire somebody, a professional, to do that. So
okay, now I want to just for the minute talk about the responsibility of the nonprofit in dealing with the artist, because first of all, I know you've had an experience where they loved your pictures and didn't put your name on it.
That happens every once in a while. Yeah, that's right. You reminded me of one of the first things I had done was the March of Dimes Bachelor auction back in the early 90s. And I was really excited because I was just starting out, as on my own as a commercial photographer, and I thought this is going to be a great opportunity for me to get my name out there. And I did this portrait of this couple, and I found the couple, and we found the location, and we got the dress and the thing and the lighting, and they printed the poster, and they didn't put my name on it. It was like, that's kind of, part of the reason I was doing this was to get, some exposure and, help out with the community. It was a good cause. So yeah, that taught me a lesson.
But the artist, first of all, it's not easy for an artist to live here on a professional level, and it requires, and the artist brings a lot to the community. So the community owes a lot to the artist. So when someone does do something pro bono for you, or volunteers for you, or gives you their talent on any level, make sure that you're rightfully grateful, I guess is the word.
Yeah, and I think with the artist should also, like I said, that was a lesson I learned, to always ask for that,
yes.
And make sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and that all the stuff is taken care of, and that if there's model releases that need to be signed, that's taken care of, and property releases, and that goes back to, you continually call me an artist, and I'm flattered by that, but I really consider myself more of a craftsman and a commercial artist. I do commercial photography, and what basically a day for me is a shot list, and I have to get through that shot list that day. So I can't, let's say, I'm not feeling it today. The muse isn't here for whatever reason. I can't put it on a shelf and, wait for the right mood to come along for me to get it done. So
well, what we're talking about here is professionalism.
Right.
And that's my. Again, that's when I think of you and I think of your work, that's what stands out. And how do you define professionalism? I mean, beyond just that you're charging money.
Right. Well, I mean, I have a studio, for instance, and so to me, the experience when a client comes to the studio is more than just the end product, the asset, the photo at the end of the day that they get from me. It's the fact that, the place is comfortable. There's a good pot of coffee on. There's a clean bathroom. There's a place to sit and spread your stuff out. And there's Wi-Fi so you can hook up your laptop and check your email. And, all those things go into the factor that, it's a nice place to spend an 8-hour day during a photo shoot. It's comfortable. They enjoy it. They want to come back. They want to spend time there. So that to me is as important, almost as the actual end product of the photography. And then on the other hand too, I've always been, taught, through the old black and white West Coast school that even with art, you can't discount good craft. If you're making black and white prints and they fade in 2 years because you didn't wash them properly, that's not really good art. That's just bad craft. So yeah, there's something to be said for making sure that not only is it's properly exposed and it's in focus and you've got the right file format for whatever uses it's going to be, but all that stuff goes both ways with commercial art and fine art. Like the other analogy that my ceramics teacher taught me was if a piece of art rolled down a hill and it still looked like art at the bottom, that's a good thing. It's not too fragile. It's not too, there's not too many persnickety little pieces sticking out of it that could break off. So it should have a little bit of wherewithal to stand the test of time. So.
And you do fine art as well.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
So it's not such a. You move back and forth between these worlds, as do many artists who have lasted here a long time on the peninsula.
Sure. I'm really for years and years, people would say, what do you take pictures of for fun? I said, well, I really don't take pictures for fun. It's my day job. I come in and I shoot the shots that I have to shoot, and then for fun, I might, play music or do other things. But recently, I've actually been looking at fine art as like, what would look good up on a wall in our living room? What kind of thing? And I've been kind of drawn to kind of abstract seascape with saturated colors. And it's almost the kind of thing I would paint if I could paint, So it's like looking for these images that kind of evoke a mood, whatever that is. And so I've kind of been playing around with that, and I'm not sure where that's going to lead. It might lead to, gallery or shows or something like that. But I've been having fun with it. So I've been, and that's a first for me for a long time. I mean, back when I was starting out, I wanted to be the next Ansel Adams, but it's tough. I have nothing but the most respect for true artists that feel driven to get out and create images and to get them outside of their bodies somehow. They feel really driven to create art for whatever reason. And to me, it's always been, commercial photography is problem solving. You have 5 shots to do. Let's solve these problems. Let's figure out how to make whatever it is you're photographing look in the best light to sell the product usually. And then we go home and have dinner. So
well, and again, I know that you've been a partner with your wife in this for a long time. She's a stylist. You do a lot of your repertoire is with food products, which I know is a devilishly difficult thing to photograph. You say it's not, but I do know that it is.
Well, it can be if you don't do it all the time. So
Yeah.
with us, it's basically 80% of what we do. We do a lot of recipe shots for the ag industry, for instance, or packaging shots. And so, yeah, we're just used to doing food and lighting food and propping for food and dealing with food and all that stuff. So to us, it's just kind of, we've done our 10,000 hours. We've gotten the muscle memory is there. It's not really that difficult. I can walk into a situation and go, okay, there's going to be 1 light there, 2 lights over there. The exposure will be this, and I'm pretty close to getting that at this point. To me, it would be much harder to photograph a wedding, because that's not what I do every day. So yeah.
And we were talking before the show about you're going through some changes, some thinking, and I guess it comes down to being true to self, and being true to self works through. Seeps into professionalism and seeps into work. And let's talk about what you're thinking about this.
Well, I was mentioning earlier that I started getting into some Eastern thought processes and meditation, and what's the big picture, what's the meaning of it, and making sure that what I do is in line with all those things. So making sure that we're not doing anything that hurts the planet or hurts the community, that we're supporting those things. And so that's important to me, and I became a vegetarian recently, and it wasn't really for any political reasons or health reasons. It was just like, let me give this a try, and it hasn't been that hard, and I've really enjoyed it. And I think if anything, it would be, if I was to point to one thing, would be the water use that meat production has is huge. It's like, you can, when we're in a drought, people say, well, not watering my lawn isn't going to make that much of a difference. It's like, yeah, but not having a cheeseburger, saves 600 gallons of water, according to some statistics. So that's a way that you can, change a little bit of what you do and how you do things, and be a little bit more mindful about it.
If everybody changes just a little bit
of
something.
Bit.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, a lot of people are oh, film is so cool, and we wish we shot film, and it's like, film was bad for the planet. There was a lot of bad chemicals and a lot of packaging that we had to go through, and Polaroid, and so yeah, it was cool and it was interesting, but it wasn't sustainable. And so I've embraced digital photography as soon as it was up to a point where it could rival film as far as resolution goes, and I haven't looked back. So,
and then you gloss over your hobbies, music and sailing, but you're a very serious sailor, and you're also a very serious musician. And the last time you were on the show, you gave me a copy of your CD from Along Came Betty, and I listened, and it's really good, and really, again, the time in the studio. I know I was listening to some serious people.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
So let's just touch on that a little bit.
You know, that was a project I started about 20 years ago. I've been a musician my whole life. I was professional for years when I was starting out with photography, and then I kind of, you know, when my career, my photography career was kind of taking off, I kind of took a back burner with music. And about 20 years ago, I was like, you know, I really want to do something that's interesting and different, and so I wanted to do a band that played a certain genre of music called hard bop. And what happened was the piano player that we asked to join the band, a guy named Biff Smith, old friend of mine, great piano player, was also a very prolific composer. And so instead of becoming a hard bop cover band that just played Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers and Horace Silver tunes, we became a band that played original hard bop tunes, and most of them written by Biff Smith. So, and we've played the Monterey Jazz Festival 5 times. We've come up with 6 CDs. We've played at the Big Sur River Inn every year, every summer. It's been a really great project, and it's been a blessing. So I continue to do that and enjoy that.
Yeah. So you're a pretty understated guy, because this is big stuff, and the music is really solid.
It is. I mean, it's a testament to the composer, Biff, the guys in the band, Brian Stock, Paul Tarantino, Steve Uccello on bass, and they're all solid professionals. I continually try to practice and grow as a musician, and that's something I struggle with sometimes, because sometimes I don't have time or I don't want to put in the time, but you can't just not play for a month and then play a concert and expect to do well. So I mean, physically, like trumpet players can't. Their lip isn't in shape. But I can, you know, as my hands don't get blisters or anything like that from not playing, but I just don't play as well. So I continually am trying to grow as a musician and you know, become better and you know, but I think the key is to get to a point where it's a flip of a switch where you can enjoy practicing or you can't. And if you enjoy it, it just becomes natural and you just do it.
Things aren't as fun if they're not on the best level. And you're a professional. You've always had a high level. I appreciate it. It's good for everybody. It lifts all, you know, seeing people who have a high game, it makes you do better.
It does.
And I think we'll leave it at that. Patrick Tregenza, PT Photo, that's ptfoto.com.
That's the website.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.